Welcome back. This is still the POLITY reaching you live from Abuja. I've been joined in the studio now by social scientist and policy analyst Dr. Mefor to speak on the issue of by-elections and rerun elections, the outcomes, the process, and implications for future elections. He joins me now to do justice to that matter. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Yeah, good afternoon, Thomas.
It's good to have you.
Thank you for hosting me once more.
Thanks. All right. Yeah. So let's start with your general analysis on what occurred with the by-election, the reruns, and generally the level of attention you feel it got or lack thereof.
Yeah, I think marginally better, I should say, than the general elections that I held in 2023. Marginally, I should say slightly better. That's what I mean by being marginally better. And there are factors that should justify this. One is the magnitude of the elections involved, the rerun or runoff or whatever. In overall, you will see that the number of elections involved were really few.
Yes.
And that gave INEC ample time to really focus and get it done, and done better than they did in the past. And of course, what you call benefit of hindsight, the general outcry that greeted their past performances, they have also triggered the desire to do better this time around. And but even at that, the problems that beset the previous elections, particularly in 2023, general elections and the runoff where they occurred, we still saw quite a bit of them. The issue of late arrival of materials and all that, well, that wasn't much of an issue. But we still saw evidence of vote buying, is still there, visibly. What that means is that the politicians are ready to buy, and the voters are ready to sell. And in Enugu particularly, you recall that INEC had to put off even the rerun in Enugu and one or two other places. Why? Because of violence, because of clear violations of the extant electoral act and the general conventions that should govern such a civil and civic action as election. In Enugu, we saw videos of an electoral officer who came with an already filled result, sheets and all that. Even though one may say that the Enugu incident was isolated, so to speak, but nonetheless it happened. So I think that even though INEC marginally delivered, there is still a lot of room for engagement, for improvement. There is very serious need for INEC to also utilize the gains of what they achieved in this one, moving forward. There is also a preponderance of what I call the views of the will of the electorate really having its way largely. You can see that in admixture of the political parties that really won. You would see some relatively unknown political parties winning at the Senate level. In Jos, for example, I don't even know the name of the political party, but it won the Senate seat nonetheless, which means the will of the people, not the political platform this time, must have prevailed. And you see that here and there. In Anambra, for example, YPP, had a very wonderful showing, more than the incumbent APGA, And so incumbency of governance and the APC as a ruling party at the center, it had very minimal impact in my own calculation, because I'm looking at the outcome. The outcome is suggesting that INEC was able to allow the will of the electorate to have its way, and that is what we have all craved for. Because you see, if you look at what is happening in West Africa generally, what has happened to ECOWAS, for example, the exit of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, is for me indicative of failure of democracy. Why? Because there is a kind of push for return of the military. Return of the military is being justified by the absence of proper democracy and democracy without development. Do you see the problem? So, you can now see that if the people will have the chance to say that this is who would represent, who would govern, then the justification for return of the military will no longer be there, or at least will be reduced to the barest minimum. But the situation where you have semi-justification, because of failure of democracy, you can't, in all honesty, feel very comfortable saying that the military cannot return. Nobody prays for it, but you need to allow democracy to work as the only way to rule out the return of the military. So, using that to juxtapose against what has happened in the last Saturday rerun elections, I think INEC needs to build on the little gains they made, so that moving forward, 2027 should be able to return candidates across board that really reflect the will, the yearnings of the electorate in Nigeria. Once that is done, democracy, the next thing we'll focus on is how democracy can produce development.
Fair enough. I think when you speak, your recommendations are towards INEC.
Yes.
I'd like to get your thoughts as to what you think is happening in the instance where we have, like you said, the people's will come into play.
Yeah.
Is it simply INEC and the authorities allowing it happen, or is there something that those persons or parties were able to do correctly to increase their chances? The ADP was one of those who won, even the Labour Party in that region, and so many other people won. So, do you think there's any specific or special political, will I call it arrangement or moves or methods that can achieve the results? I'll just give one instance of what some persons are saying, some political actors, in the issue of Plateau.
Yeah.
Some of the PDP members and supporters, they are saying that it was some sort of agreement because the courts struck out the PDP and they were unable to participate in the majority of the elections. So they said they voted intentionally for Labour Party because the goal overall is to ensure that the ruling party doesn't, muzzle anyone. So I wonder what you think about that strategy if it happened, and do you think there is more that can be done on the part of those who the people really want to be there? What can they do?
Yeah, I see where you are coming from. Protest vote has always been part of the nation's politics and democracy, ever. If you remember the days of NRC SDP in Lagos, Otebola won as a governor, under NRC. And he won out of protest. He garnered the protest vote. And it was shown in the number of assembly members won by NRC in that same election. I think they were only 4 or something like that. The rest, more than absolute majority, were from the SDP. Because the candidate the people wanted under the SDP platform wasn't who was eventually fielded. So Funsho Williams and all that, so the NRC benefited from that. So, fast forward to what happened in Jos. It's almost the same thing. what happened there in Jos was a reflection of protest votes, because the preferred candidate was not on the ballot, and the preferred political party was also not on the ballot. The people would have voted for the PDP candidate if he was on the ballot, but he wasn't there, and they didn't want to give it to who benefited from the tribunal overall. So they gave it to another political party altogether. So in this case, APC didn't win, because ordinarily the next in line would have been APC, but he didn't. I'm not sure he even came second. He may have come a distant third, because it seems Labour also did better in that particular election, senatorial election. I think Plateau Central or something. I think it is indicative of the fact that the Nigerian electorate, they are becoming more and more aware and daring. What I mean is that if basic environment is allowed to be conducive, the people should be able to exercise their franchise and make it really count. And you will see that in the past elections, I didn't see too much of that in the Friday rerun elections. I think we have always had or seen overbearing institutional interference in the electoral process. We have seen instances where electoral umpires, electoral officers are partisan. We have seen where those in charge of election security are also partisan, directly or indirectly. When they see certain things going on wrongly in a polling unit, collation centers, and look the other way, that is institutional collusion. Because you are either committing, by committing or by omitting, by refusing to really interfere. Because when you say electoral security, everything that will constitute insecurity in an election environment ought to be preempted and stopped by the security agents who are assigned to the responsibility. But in the past, it has always been a problem, because there has always been a very clear case of collusion, over the police and others, and it's not good. So if you want to get election right in Nigeria, the electoral umpire will have to remain neutral. You have to be an umpire. It's like a football match. As a referee, when you descend into the arena to the point of becoming partisan on the side of one of the teams, you have actually lost your favor as an umpire. That's precisely what we expect of them. We want them to be very, very neutral and ensure that the votes of the people count. No matter the definition of democracy, no matter how we look at it, it is all about the people deciding who should govern them, who should represent them. That is what democracy is all about.
What kind of pressure do you think would enable INEC and the electoral umpire really understand what's going on and impress upon them? Because it seems as though people complain every other day, but I wonder if are there specific blocks that can complain that would make INEC really sit up?
It's the job of two institutions. One is the opposition political party or political parties. It is their job to insist that there is a level playing ground, because that's the only way they can win election. If there is a level playing ground and the incumbent political party is not doing well, or you have a better idea and the people think that they need to try your own idea, the only way you can come in is if the ground is really level. But if there are contours that are deliberately put there to ensure that opposition does not win, it's the opposition that needs to ensure that those things are removed. You see, we have often talked about reforms you need in the Electoral Act is for this same reason you raised. We need a minimum of 3 to 4 things addressed in the Electoral Act. But the opposition party, PDP and the rest, are not up to it. They are not doing anything in that direction. For example, when you say you want electronic voting, electronic collation, it has to be made a legal issue. I keep talking about section 64 subsection 4 of the Electoral Act, which says that you should make the uploading of results from polling units condition precedent to collation and announcement of results. This has to be made mandatory by altering that provision to bring in the word mandatory, compulsory. If you don't do that, it becomes discretionary. It means that INEC, like they did in 2023, will decide to upload or not to upload. And the Presidential Election Petition Court pointed this out. Now look, there is no place in the law that says that uploading the result will have to be mandatory. That there is no provision that says that IREV is a collation portal. The opposition party is not saying anything about these things. And before you know it, 2026 is here, and then we will all be jostling for tickets, and we'll be back to the Book of Lamentation, chapter 2 or chapter 3.
Yes, let me just cut in there and ask. It's a peculiar question, and it's something I personally have noticed.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've brought it up before, but on my program here on the POLITY, in just taking a look at about a year ago, during the President Muhammadu Buhari tenure, I would invite various parties, representatives from all kinds of parties, SDP, PDP, Accord, they all come here. And there was a level of opposition work being done. That is, they would hit hard on the government, this is what they are not doing and they need to do. But I have to be frank, since President Bola Ahmed came into power, inviting various parties to the program here there's not much difference when I invite an APC person to the call, because pretty much everyone comes and they say, well, the president is doing well, give the president time, so I'm wondering, is there something special about this administration and this president that makes it almost near impossible, very difficult to get people who are opposed to him in terms of party politics, to speak out against whatever they feel is wrong? Or could it be that the government is actually doing so well that there's really nothing to oppose? So I wonder what you see.
You need to understand the psychology of the Nigerian politician. The Nigerian politician is not really out there as a statesman. He has no forwarding address. The average Nigerian politician sees politics as business. And he is Ajib, any government in power. So they don't even see political parties as ideological platforms where they can stay to drive their perspectives, what they believe the polity ought to be, and what should be done to make anything change. If you look at the political parties in Nigeria, none of them is ideologically or ideology driven. There is none. Even Labour, that ought to be workers and masses oriented, is even worse than PDP and APC. I will use what is going on in Edo as an example. PDP is selling their governorship form for 30 million. Labour is selling their governorship form also for 30 million. Do you understand that? So if you ask yourself, if Labour is there for the masses, for the workers, do they expect, how many years will a worker serving or retired, work to be able to save 30 million, to be able to participate as a candidate, as an aspirant in the Edo governorship election? And it is the same thing that happened in Imo, is the same thing that happened across board. In other words, you have no single ideologically driven political party in the mix as we speak. Bring that understanding to what the politician himself is saying. For me, PDP and APC are the only two political parties in the fray. Because if you look at Labour is really not a political party in the real sense of the word if you remove P2B and obedience. Before P2B and obedience invaded the Labour, it had not even up to 10% presence in Nigeria. Do you understand that? So if they move away, Labour will be worse off than it was before P2B entered. So it still boils down to APC and PDP. And because you have no conventions or laws insisting on what you call fidelity of a politician to a political party, right? They wake up PDP and sleep APC. There is no law regulating it. Do you understand that? And don't forget, politics is not a moral game, especially here. What they are looking for is essentially a platform to contest election. And once they win, the party means little or nothing until another election cycle comes. If not, if Nigerian politics is ideology driven, Labour members in the National Assembly wouldn't collect the SUV purchased for 160 million. It's against the principle, the ideology of the party. Collecting it vitiates everything, showing that indeed that they don't constitute an ideologically driven political platform. That said, when you find a politician now telling you that Buhari is doing, that Tinubu is doing, I keep talking about Buhari, it takes some time for it to clear out of our system. That Tinubu is doing well. He's only saying one thing. He's positioning himself for employment. Do you understand that? Because I told you that the Nigerian politician has no forwarding business address. He has no way of sustaining the life he lives. Do you understand what I'm saying? Without government or political party patronage. So he is there presenting himself to APC headhunters and saying, I am also available.
But do you think,
but
do you think President Tinubu is somehow savvy with his relationship with opposition? Even as we are seeing the former spokesperson of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, he has on multiple occasions now, yes, even going out of the country to go and visit the president. Reno Omokri is another person who's singing praises of the president.
No, listen, no. See,
but it's not so evident under President Buhari, don't you think?
It's not what. Of course, the same thing happened under Buhari. A lot of people left PDP and joined the APC.
But the difference now is that people are not leaving; they stay within the party.
They remain,
such as former governor, Rivers State governor.
Yes.
Till today, still identified as a good example.
No. Listen, Wike is not a good example. Wike is a special case, right? A special problem that PDP wasn't able to solve, and they weren't able to solve that because of their incapacity as an opposition political party. That's just the problem. Otherwise, Wike, you cannot allow Wike to leave the party. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or not to leave the party. He's neither in PDP nor in APC, or he is in a PDP and serving APC. Something is not adding up. Do you understand what I'm saying? And Wike said, before I left, I told them. Or before I joined, he said that before I joined the APC government, I told them. So what did they say? So what did they say? So if you look at it from that perspective, you will see that Wike is not a clear example. The rest, Bwala, Omokiri, and the others are angling for political patronage.
All right. We'll see what they have to say about that. And but just to round off the program now, I just want to get your final thoughts in a minute or two about the issue of voter apathy and what you think is the way forward there. This election, the by-elections and rerun, showed that there's a new level to it now. I saw an argument where a citizen who was trying to move around, I believe in Lagos, was stopped by the police that, there's no movement now. And he said, just go ahead, we don't care anymore, let me pass, So that apathy, what is the way forward?
Apathy is driven by one thing, and one thing alone. The feeling that the feeling that one's vote wouldn't count. Once there is that feeling, actually there is no reason to go and stand out there under rain and shine when you know that the labor, as proclaimed, in your efforts, will not amount to anything in the final analysis. The way the INEC handled the 2023 general elections is responsible for this. And that is why we keep talking about the needed electoral reforms, so as to give the people fresh hope, fresh impetus. Don't forget that Professor Mahmoud Yakubu told us that election will be transmitted real time. He was talking to the Nigerian electorate. So what happened? He reneged for no reason, without apologies till today. If he reneged after dragging out Nigerians that were not interested in election, the very Nigerians were interested, they would have allowed him to do it the way they normally did it. But he reassured them that this time will be different. People came out, and he didn't do that which he promised, that which even the Electoral Act also contemplated, even though maybe he did not make mandatory, because the word mandatory wasn't used in section 64 subsection 4 and the surrounding provisions. But since you had the discretion to upload or not to upload, if you go to the point where uploading will become impossible, you call Nigerian electorate, say, look, this thing can't work because of this and this. He didn't do anything. At the end of the day, after fooling millions of Nigerians, 60-something million Nigerians who registered to vote, there was 80-something, but at the end of the day, after the cleaning up and those they disallowed and all that, he came to over 60 million. You fooled all of them, and at the end of the day, you did not upload, you didn't explain anything, you blamed the internet glitch, which was proved to be false, that is not true, there was no glitch. Amazon told us that much. Till today, Professor Mahmoud owes Nigerians apology on what happened. If he doesn't do that, expect less than 15% of Nigerians in the next general election.
Thank you so much, Dr. Law. That's a hard one to dwell on. Let's hope that the INEC chairman does something about that. Thank you so much for coming.
The pleasure is always mine.
All right, that's how we'll end this segment of the program. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, the POLITY continues. I've been speaking with Dr. Law Mefor, social scientist and policy analyst. Stay with us. We'll be right back.